Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's SEAC meeting. Just a reminder that just reminding the members that the meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the website. And please, when speaking, remember to push your microphone on your Teams app. For those of you at home, again, please turn off your cameras and microphones unless you're being called upon to speak. So we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with our prayer. In the Father and Son, Holy Spirit, amen. We come together in hope from different community groups, answering the same call to service, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in gratitude for the trust placed in us, for the opportunity to serve pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in respect, aware of our diversity, willing to work for the good, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in awe of the wonder and beauty of each of God's children, pieces of the same puzzle. We come together in God's name, and as we work together toward the same goal, each piece of the puzzle begins to fit neatly into place, creating a breathtaking picture of love, compassion, courage, and grace. Amen. Okay, so I did get to tell everyone that Trustee Agnew is feeling under the weather.
As we know it today
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations and the Métis.
From the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis.
These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today
on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect the four directions: lands,
waters, plants, animals, and ancestors
that walked before us.
All of these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God. We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 1.2, approval of the agenda. Can I call for a mover? Is that Abiola is a mover and Andrea Lucarici is our seconder? Great, thank you. We'll go to item number 2, declarations of conflict of interest. Is there anyone that has any declarations of conflicts of interest? Once, going twice? No? Okay, great. So no declarations of conflict of interest. We'll move on to our presentation for the evening. And it's a presentation that's near and dear to my heart and Rhonda Cannell's heart as well as voice representatives. Joining us tonight from HCDSB Hearing Services are Sandra Costantini and Rhonda Boyle. Sandra and Rhonda, if you're ready, we can pass the presentation over to you.
Do you need us to share a screen or is it already set up?
You can share if you want to, or we can have Margaret do it here in the boardroom.
Whatever's easier.
Okay, so we'll get Margaret to share it. That's fine, thanks.
Okay, I'll let Rhonda start because she's doing the beginning and then I'll turn my camera on.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
We're just getting it up.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Margaret. So Sandra here to present to you about hearing services and what we do in our role. You can go on to the next slide. So the team is made up of itinerant teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing, an educational audiologist, and ASL interpreter. So the itinerant teachers are myself and Sandra, Vanessa Beatnick, and Sheila Winchell. Kim Schmidt is our audiologist, and we are very fortunate to have 3 ASL interpreters, Louise Lambert, Emily Rayner, and Rena Essa, sorry. So our role as itinerant teachers is varied, and it's very dependent on the needs of the student. So we support students that have a mild hearing loss, minimal hearing loss, unilateral hearing loss, all the way through the spectrum to those who are profoundly deaf. And some of those profoundly deaf students use the cochlear implant and or communicate in ASL, American Sign Language. And within this role, we provide in-servicing to teachers, parents, and teachers. If the students use FM system, we order and we facilitate the setup and maintenance of that FM equipment and the chair treatment along with our audiologist. We attend parent meetings, case conferences, IPRCs, and preschool home visits. And we consult on and we update the IEP. We collaborate with provincial schools for professional development and also for transitioning students in and out of our board. We have students that come from provincial schools, and we have students that leave and go usually back to provincial schools, or they transition just from us to the provincial schools. We support and we work collaboratively with the school-based, the classroom teachers, the American Sign Language interpreters, and educational assistants. And we create and deliver an alternative program based on educational assessments we complete. And these are for the students that receive direct support. And those sub-bullets are some of the target areas which we would address. Next slide. So Kim Schmidt is an educational audiologist, and her role is that she recommends FM systems and chair treatment. She fits those FM systems onto students that use hearing aids and cochlear implants, and she monitors and maintains the function of those FM systems, and she provides documentation for SEAC claims. She updates us, the itinerant teachers, with regard to new developments in technology. She assists us in servicing school staff regarding hearing needs and equipment as well. She consults with the school personnel and the board personnel, parents, guardians, regarding needs of students. She acts as a liaison between us and the clinical audiologist, just to make sure that the FM system is compatible with the hearing aids, and just to make sure that she has the whole picture of what's going on with that child's hearing. And she ensures that a student has access to equipment or accommodations that will facilitate the access to instruction in the classroom so that they can be active participants as listeners in the room. Our ASL interpreters, they work with our students that communicate using ASL, and they function as, they facilitate the communication between the deaf students and the hard of hearing students that use sign language, and all the hearing people in the environment that those deaf people come into communication with, including teachers, peers, other service providers, the office staff, the custodian, everyone. And they are part of the educational team. They interpret instructional information in the classroom, whether that be oral or written, as needed. They voice the deaf student signing, so when the deaf student signs, they voice that into English. And when English is spoken, they change that into ASL. So they are ASL to English and English to ASL interpreters. They interpret questions, comments, responses of other students. Basically, they interpret anything that the hearing students have access to, whether that be somebody knocking on the door, a comment made by other students, the answers to questions, everything. When on a test or a written assignment, they might be asked to interpret what's written in English text, just to make sure that the students are being evaluated on their knowledge of the subject material. So for example, if they're doing a science test and they're having trouble understanding the English in the question on that science test, we want to make sure that the students are being assessed in the knowledge of science. So therefore, those questions might be interpreted. Interpreters are not there to redirect the student's behavior. That's the job of the classroom teacher. So their job is to facilitate the communication between the deaf individuals and the hearing individuals. Next slide. And I'm going to pass it on to Sandra.
Thanks, Rhonda. So within our board, we service students who come to us with an auditory processing disorder report, as well as students who are deaf and hard of hearing. So the students who are deaf and hard of hearing have a diagnosed hearing loss indicated on an audiogram from their clinical audiologist, and it indicates the type and degree of their hearing loss. So for these students, their listening challenge is either on their outer, middle, or inner ear. Whereas students who come to us with a report indicating an auditory processing disorder, these students have hearing within the normal range. So their report has several recommendations on the report that we implement into the classroom with the school CERT. And one of those accommodations is sometimes an FM system, in which case we bring an FM system into the classroom and do a trial with the classroom teacher and student to show benefit for that student. And for these students, their listening challenge is related to the pathway to the brain. Next slide. So for our students with a hearing loss, it's not a one size fits all. Their hearing loss occurs along a continuum. It can be in one ear or both ears. It varies by degree and nature. Their hearing loss could be stable, it could be progressive, or fluctuating. So it really depends, and it varies greatly. Next slide, sorry. Some of the factors contributing to the level of functioning of our students also varies greatly. So it depends on the age that the student was identified, as well as the age that they were fitted with amplification. The duration and consistency that they use their personal amplification both at school and at home. The quality of their personal equipment. As we know, technology progresses greatly from year to year, so it depends on the quality of their personal equipment. Access to early intervention that the student had, as well as linguistic input at home, in their environment, and at school. Their audiological profile, which we discussed in the previous slide, as well as any additional exceptionalities that the student may have. So like I said, it varies greatly from student to student, and we cannot compare two students who have similar hearing loss because their factors vary greatly. So it's each student is an individual, and we have to look at them differently. So the level of support for our iCert DHH varies from a regular classroom with withdrawal assistance, where we are providing intensive direct instruction based on our ALT goals, which are indicated in the alternative IEP, to regular classroom with resource assistance, where we may provide direct instruction based on student need, to regular classroom with indirect service, where we are monitoring the student, monitoring their hearing needs, and consulting with their school team. So our students who wear hearing aids and cochlear implants, it's very important to remember that it's not a quick fix for their hearing loss. So if they are wearing hearing aids and cochlear implants, they do not maintain audibility or intelligibility at a distance. So when the teacher is far away from the student may still hear the teacher, but they're not intelligible as far as the speech. So, also the hearing aids and cochlear implants, they do not decipher between noises. So they can't increase speech and reduce background noise. They're increasing all noise and cannot separate the two. And most importantly, when a child is wearing hearing aids and cochlear implants, they still have a hearing loss. So it's not a quick fix for their hearing loss, unlike a lot of individuals who put glasses on and they can have 20/20 vision. The hearing aids and cochlear implants do not fix their hearing loss, so they still have a hearing loss with those devices. So some of the accommodations that we incorporate into the classroom for our students, one of which is the FM systems. And Rhonda had mentioned the FM systems earlier, but just a little visual to show you some of the FM systems that we do have in our board. From the sound-filled system, where the teacher wears a transmitter and their voice is being transmitted through the speaker in the classroom for the class to hear, to personal FM systems, where the teacher wears a transmitter and it's being transmitted directly to a receiver on their hearing aid or cochlear implant. We also have chair treatments, so the two hush-ups and flexi-felts. One's not better than the other. It just all depends on the type of chairs in the classroom. And then Streamer is an amazing voice-to-text technology where the teacher wears a transmitter and the student plugs in a receiver into the USB port on their computer, which they keep on their desk. And when the teacher is talking, it's like a live transcription of the lesson on their computer. So for the student, it can reduce a lot of anxiety, meaning that if the student is not sure if they heard something correctly, they can glance at their computer to fill in those blanks and just get that visual support. It also may reduce some listening fatigue for some of our students. However, there is a lot of considerations to take into account when our students are trialing this technology. For example, it may distract some students from listening to the lesson because they're focused on their laptop and looking at the lesson as opposed to paying attention to the lesson. It could also confuse some students because of perhaps some of the inaccuracies. The punctuation is not always perfect on the transcription, so it may cause some confusion for some students. It may also cause some anxiety if they're concerned about what their peers think. And also the Wi-Fi glitches like we've experienced this evening. There could be some Wi-Fi glitches and it may not work accurately for the students. So it is a technology that we allow some students to trial and see what they think. And they may not need it right now, but it's something that they can keep in mind for the future if there's a class or a course that comes up that they think that it might be helpful for. And Lastly, we put in this slide to just show our amazing annual year-end picnic that we have with our students, which is a great day for all of our students to come together across the board, because we do have a lot of students in schools who are the only individual who has a hearing loss in their school. So this is a great opportunity for togetherness and the feeling of belonging, to meet other students, and a lot of them also exchange information that they can chat with students at a later date. It's just a great day for them to get together and get to know other students across the board.
Okay, so I think that's the end of the presentation, right? Rhonda. Are there any questions for Sandra or Rhonda from the group? Comments? We have Rhonda here in the boardroom. Go ahead, Rhonda.
I don't know if there's anything in the chat. I haven't looked.
Hi. See, now you're getting feedback. Just to acknowledge, I'm in the boardroom. I'm the only one in the boardroom. I came to see you guys. Anyways, I have a question and I have a comment. I have two comments. One question is, I'm curious if you're seeing an increase in the number of students using ASL in this board compared to the past. Those students who would typically have gone to provincial schools. Now I can't hear her.
I would say not an increase. So in all the years that I've worked for this board, there's only been 4 years that we've not had students who use sign language. Sometimes there might only be 1 or 2 students. Right now we have 4, but we've had 4 in the past on a couple of different occasions. So I would just say it kind of rises and falls.
Next, we have Brianna. You have a question?
Yeah, my question is, for those students who have auditory processing disorder, how often do you require them to be reassessed? Like, so say if you're going from elementary school to high school, do they need reassessment again? Or like, how does that work?
So typically when we have students who come to us with a report, they're usually as young as grade 2 upwards to grade 3 or 4. And when they come to us with the report at that point in time, and then we usually reevaluate and have another meeting with parents around grade 7 or 8. So when they're reaching the intermediate grades, because we want to just touch base with parents again, find out how they're feeling, and talk to them about the possibility of getting an updated report. We would never tell them that they have to get a report, but in talking to them about moving to high school and talking about the different types of equipment, because if they have a sound field system for the younger grades, it's really hard to transition to high school with a sound field system. So it's easier to move to a personal FM system.
That was going to be my question. So are there 2 different systems for the elementary setting to the high school setting when it comes to filtering out the sound? And you're moving from classroom to classroom on rotary, right? Kind of idea in high school compared to elementary when you're in one class with a teacher with an FM system.
Yeah, the personal is a lot easier, and it has the direct sound for the students. So the sound field system is a speaker in the classroom that just amplifies the teacher's voice across the room, whereas the personal, it's coming directly to the student's ear. So it is a lot, it is a lot better and for the student. However, it's better when they're older because it is a small device and they have to, insert it and remove it depending on the different activities throughout the classroom. And that's why it's better if they're a little bit older. But yeah, we do want to trial the personal system when they are in intermediate, because in grade 7 and 8, they're in a comfortable environment with teachers that they're a little bit more familiar with. So oftentimes we do trial it in grade 7 and 8 in certain classes before they get to high school, because as we know, grade 9 in high school, there's a lot of changes and a lot of things going on that it may not be the best time to trial an FM system. And if we do trial an FM system and we are moving forward with a purchase, we do need to have an updated report that is within 2 years. So the date of the report has to be within 2 years before we can purchase new equipment for that student. And also their auditory system matures with age. So they may have auditory processing challenges when they're younger, and they may have outgrown it as they've gotten older. So we need to prove that they still would benefit from an FM system.
Okay, so can you just clarify? Because at first you said you wouldn't force a parent to have to get an updated one, but it sounds like once they get to high school, you actually need to get an updated one in order to get the system.
Yeah, we're not going to tell a parent they have to get it because the parents have to incur a cost.
That's exactly it. And it's over $1,000 in some cases.
That may depend on where you're going. I haven't actually heard of one that has been that much money. So oftentimes if parents ask, we can give them recommendations of 3 or 4 places for them to explore, and they can look at different options. But that's a little steep. I haven't heard of one that has been that much money.
Oh yeah, in Guelph University in London, it's about $1,000 for the testing. Wow. Yeah, so that's why I was asking how much. And of course, it's a cost incurred to the parents, right? That not everyone has benefits that will cover it. So that's why I wanted to know, how often are you requiring parents to get reassessments in order to use the FM system?
So as a school board, we have changed the process a little bit. So if they come to us at grade 2 or 3, we are now purchasing extended warranties on our equipment. So that brings them to grade 7 or 8. So we're not asking them to, or parents don't have to update the report as often. However,
that's great.
Yeah, but going into high school just to see if it's still recommended is great in grade 7 or 8 going into high school.
And is that because you're purchasing that new equipment for them, that they use the ear device compared to the other equipment that you use in elementary? Is that why?
Yeah, but however, we can do a trial with personal equipment before they get the report done, just to see if the student would actually wear it.
Yep. Okay.
So we can do a trial before, and then we could have another meeting with student and parent after the trial, and then go from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so Trish is next. Go ahead, Trish. Sorry, Trustee Powell. Excuse me.
That's okay. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, actually, just a couple of things. Thank you for the presentation. That was actually very interesting. Just to pick up on Brianna's questions, are there grants or bursaries, or does our board support if people do need the equipment, or I guess the assessment is separate, but for the equipment, are there grants that we can direct them to or through the board to help support the cost?
Are you talking for auditory processing or for deaf and hard of hearing for their personal equipment?
Well, originally I was going to ask that for the deaf and hard of hearing, but I guess just in general, are there grants out there for equipment for parents, for families that require this equipment?
So
I like to trial them, but sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. So for FM systems and hearing aids and cochlear implants. So for hearing aids and cochlear implants, that's a personal, it's a personal device. So there is some funding through ADP, and there's some additional funding depending on the income of the family, and typically their clinical audiologist can help them out with that. Just to figure out funding for them. For FM systems at the school. So for FM systems through the school board, it's through a SEA funded, it's through, like, it's a SEA funded equipment.
Okay. So there's no expense for the parent?
No, the parents don't incur any cost for the FM systems.
Okay. I was trying to hear, it was a little glitchy, and then I've got a lot of background noise here in my house too. So I just wanted to, sorry if you did explain that in the presentation.
No, yeah, so the parents don't incur a cost for the FM system. It's just, and if for deaf and hard of hearing, they just have to have an audiogram showing that they have a hearing loss. For auditory processing, to purchase new equipment, their report just has to be within 2 years.
Within 2 years. Okay. And then do you, I see you guys do so much, and I'm sure you're stretched thin, and thank you. I know you guys have a passion for this. How do you educate the other children when you mentioned that sometimes it's only one child in the whole school? What about so I always think about that child, feeling singled out in the classroom. Do you have prepared presentations that you can share with the other students in the class to educate? You're nodding, so I'm assuming you've already got this covered.
Yeah, Ron, did you want me to go talk? Or, yeah, so oftentimes, especially if they're little, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, we have different storybooks that we go into the classroom and read. We often will talk to the student to see if they want to come up and answer questions from their peers, which they often want to do. We do talk to parents ahead of time to make sure that it's okay, because some parents do not want other children to know, which is fine. So we do speak to the parents first. And then, yeah, we can go in, talk about the FM system, talk about their hearing aids and cochlear implant. Like I said, oftentimes the student will come up and stand beside us, and they love answering questions from their peers.
Yeah, I was just going to add that in grade 4, part of the science unit is sound. And often when they get to talking about the parts of the ear.
You okay? Did you freeze, Rhonda? I think she was going to say when they're talking about part of the ear, the student will come up and talk to their classmates about that. Some students are very comfortable and they take their hearing aid or cochlear implant off and they talk about the different parts with the other students. If it's a hearing aid, we can also bring in a stethoscope and kids can listen through the hearing aid and that kind of thing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's good to hear. Thank you.
No worries. I think
is Maria had her hand up, and then Brianna, and then Amanda, I think. So go ahead.
Hi there. You can, sorry, I just had a quick, just for clarification, you mentioned needing a report within 2 years. And I'm just wondering, is that a board requirement or is that a ministry requirement?
It's for SEA funded equipment through the ministry.
Okay, so it's a ministry requires a.
Yeah, it's to purchase SEA equipment. It's to purchase like new equipment. So if we're changing equipment for students, and that's for auditory processing. For hearing loss, yeah, if they haven't had an audiogram in several years, they just need an updated audiogram if we're changing equipment, which is usually students go see their audiologist every year or two. But for auditory processing, yeah, it's for to purchase SEA equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Brianna, go ahead.
Thanks. So, sorry, you mentioned the SEA claim for the purchase of the item. If that student has already done a SEA claim, let's say for equipment for a computer or laptop, does that affect their SEAC claim for, or do they can do a separate one? It doesn't interfere if they had to do one for an FM system as well? I don't know if there's a limit or not.
No, it doesn't interfere, and it goes through our educational audiologist, Kim Schmidt, who does the script for the FM system. So it doesn't, it's kind of different departments. Okay. And even if they have a SEAC claim for other equipment, it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Amanda, go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much for this presentation, because it's really informative, especially for those of us who don't know a whole lot about hearing loss. So I love that you guys were able to do this for us. I kind of wanted to expand on Trish's question about the education for peers and other students in the schools. I know you had mentioned, in the kindergarten classroom, going in and kind of talking about it. I'm sure there's kind of some education that follows the student year by year as their classroom changes and stuff like that. Is there any opportunity for, education for even like any school that has a student who has any kind of hearing loss or auditory processing disorder, like to have a little bit more education to the actual schools as a whole, so that even other students who are not in their classroom kind of have some awareness just around everything, like in regards to hearing loss, knowing that there is a student in the community that has those issues?
So for educating other students in the school?
Yeah, exactly.
So first of all, it would all depend on the student themselves. Some students don't want to be singled out, and they don't want for it to be talked about in the classroom and in the school. So if they are comfortable, we do have May Hearing Month. So all of our schools participate in that, and different informations over the announcements and different things on hearing loss. For the educators for deaf and hard of hearing children, we do have workshops at the beginning of the school year. So I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, because I think you had mentioned about the whole schools.
Yeah, so just kind of more like not even necessarily to single out the student, but if you know that there is a student within a particular school, just kind of more education to the school, not necessarily like just the morning announcements, because I know they do the morning announcements in May, right? Like you had mentioned, but I just wondered if there was any education that goes across the board to the school, like because the student won't just interact with kids in their class. Does that make sense? I might be kind of totally off ball here.
So we also do have a Dress Loud Day. That's recognized by all schools in the board, which is a day that we also push out information and activities to promote people's understanding about hearing loss and how to communicate with people who have hearing losses. In addition, certainly if schools ever requested staff to go out and do, full school presentations, we would support and facilitate that for schools.
Okay. So would that be something like if a parent was, interested in having their school do that, kind of just contact their school admin to just say, hey, we'd love to have something like this happen in our school?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And all of our schools participate in Dress Loud Day and in Hearing Month in May.
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
And that has happened. Again, in May, that has happened. Also, I just wanted to add that in the case of the students who use sign language, most of the education of the needs of these students is within the classroom, but also it is throughout the whole school, because it is such a big difference in communicating with sign language. And so we do promote everybody in the school learning a little bit of sign language, at least a greeting, so they can say hello, good morning, how are you, kind of thing.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Okay, Rhonda, you have one more question or comment? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Just, yeah, here I am. Okay. No, I'm not. Sorry, it's because I'm in the boardroom, guys. Causes some troubles tonight. just want to have the last word here. Just want to make two comments about this board that I think is really important to do tonight. One is to acknowledge that we're still providing direct service to students who are deaf and hard of hearing, because there are boards not too far from here on a purely consultative model with their students. So I'm really just so happy to hear that we are doing that, because it is a best practice, and we all know that it does enhance the success of our students, especially the pre-teaching of things that they need to know about and don't hear incidentally in the classroom or from their peers. And the other is the picnic, that you hold this annual picnic. And I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it's a very important moment for our students to connect with one another. Yeah, I could go on forever, but I just want to thank this board for continuing to do those two things for our students, because they're very, very important. And to thank you guys for being the most awesome teachers.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Great. Thank you, Rhonda. Are there any further, I think we're good, right, for questions? I just wanted to say I've been to the picnic several times. It's a great event for the kids. So happy that post-pandemic we're able to offer that again. You guys do a great job of putting it together. The staff are phenomenal. Really enjoyable afternoon. So hopefully that keeps going forever. Okay, that's, I think I don't see more questions. So I want to thank you both for a great presentation. Lots of great information for a lot of our members who probably aren't too aware of hearing services offered in the board. So thank you so much to both of you for coming out tonight and sharing all that information with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item 4. Before we move ahead, I just want to thank everyone for the last minute change of plans, moving to online. Obviously, I didn't quite get the message or interpret it properly. I only read the first line and brought the laptop with me. So I'm here at the boardroom as well. So there's a bit of juggling going on here. So please bear with me as I try to manage from this end and not drive the meeting into the ditch. So with that, thank you everyone for coming online and joining the meeting. We'll go with the approval of the minutes. So the minutes from the last meeting, January 29th. Can I call for, if anyone has any changes or questions about the minutes, first of all? No one has any questions or changes? Okay, great. So can I, oh wait, I saw a hand go up. So Marian? Go ahead, Marian.
Yes, thank you. So tonight is the first night that I attend in representation of Heart and Down Syndrome Association. And so now that you present the minute and the members present last time, I was present online. I don't know if that has to be recorded here or not, and it's a question out of ignorance.
You know what,
So
Margaret will adjust will revise the minutes to reflect the fact that you were in attendance as well. Thank you for pointing that out.
No, you're welcome, Miss. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so if that's the only change, then I'm going to ask for a mover for that change to the minutes. And Amanda's moving it. And a seconder.
I can second. It's Trish.
And Trustee Powell is going to second it. Thank you. Great. So on to item 5, business arising from previous meetings. So just looking at the table from item 5.1 here, summary of outstanding items. January 29th, looking at the accessibility plan. An email just went out today for a meeting of the committee to review the accessibility plan. I believe the meeting is March 19th. So anyone that's interested in joining that committee or wants to have input on the accessibility plan, please send an email to the chair and CC Margaret, and we can arrange to have you invited to that meeting. Again, it's on March 19th, the accessibility plan review, and the SEAC Pro Grant Subcommittee update. I don't think there's an update on that. I believe we're looking for speakers, or I'm not sure what the status is, but we can I believe it was $500 was the amount we're allowed to pay for a speaker. So any ideas or thoughts on speakers I believe are welcome. Please submit them to the chair, CC, vice chair, and Margaret, please. Okay, so that's item 5.1. We'll go on to item 6, policy review. I don't believe we have any policies to review tonight, so that's an easy one. Item 7, action information items. I don't have anything written down here for action and information items. So it's another easy one, unless someone wants to mention something or ask questions or comment. No? I think it was Marian. I think is your hand up, Marian, from the previous minutes? Okay. Can we put that down, or is Marian, can I just ask you to maybe put your hand down, please? Oh, thank you. Perfect. Great. Thanks. Still figuring out how this works. So item number 8. So board committee updates from SEAC reps. Okay, so first update is from the Spirit of Inclusion Committee. We met, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, possibly last week. It's always a tough choice. There was myself, Chair Trustee Agnew, and Superintendent Cassandra Jack Caldera. And great, like as always, great submission of candidates from across the board. Really great to see so many excellent students that are so involved with extracurriculars. A tough choice, as always, but we have the list of the winners there. So Ryan A. in the alternative education section there from Thomas Merton. Jeslov A. was the secondary winner from Loyola, St. Ignatius of Loyola Secondary. And from our elementary panel, it was Dante O. from Our Lady of Victory Elementary School. A reminder, the code of conduct. So sorry. Just to follow up on that, I believe we have the next meeting, March 18th, is going to be March 19th. Sorry, no, March 18th. March 19th is the Accessibility Plan Committee meeting. March 18th, the next SEAC meeting. Those winners will be presented officially, either here hopefully here in the boardroom. We always have an event with the parents and the winners, so that'll be a great event for the winners to be recognized for their Spirit of Inclusion awards, and that will occur on the next meeting on March 18th. A reminder, so the Code of Conduct Committee meeting is meeting on this Thursday, February 29th at 3 p.m. on Teams. An invite was sent out to the Code of Conduct Committee meeting, so we'll have updates on the Code of Conduct meeting at the next meeting for SEAC. That's item 8. Any questions about that? Oh, Trustee Powell has a question. Go ahead, Trustee Powell.
Sorry, Chair. I just have a quick question. You mentioned the Spirit of Inclusion. What date was that? I didn't hear it if you did say it.
March
the awards.
18th. March 18th. Oh, I'm not sure when the awards date is. The same date? That's the next SEAC meeting.
Yes, next SEAC. Oh, it is. Okay.
What's the conflict then? So we have the SEAC awards.
Awards is a half an hour before. If you go to the end of your notes,
okay.
Just remind everybody to come at 6:30.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Sorry. I don't know. Sorry, Trustee Powell. I don't know if you're asking about the board-wide award ceremony or the actual awards we present here at SEAC. I believe there's
the ones we present at SEAC. Or you
the same day? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, March 18th.
March 18th. Okay, thanks.
18th. Did I say 19th? 18th. Yeah. Yeah, that's Monday. Okay. Great, thank you. And we have one more question from Rhonda. Go ahead, Rhonda.
About the Code of Conduct Committee. Was the Teams invite sent out?
To whoever asked for it to be on the, but if you want to go on, I can.
Because I was sending my regrets, but if it's virtual, I might be able to be there.
I can send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, okay. Perfect. Okay, so I believe we're finished with item 8. We can move on to item 9, communication to SEAC. Is there a superintendent report here somewhere? Did I miss something? Sorry, communication to SEAC. Sorry, get out of this. Item 9.1, superintendent report. Superintendent Jack Caldera, go ahead.
Okay, let's hope that this works. Good evening, everyone. I hope that you've had a chance to review the minutes. Of course, I'll go through them, and if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So we recognized on February 14th that we are now in the season of Lent. And I know for many of our students with diverse needs, this is a journey that can be difficult and challenging to understand and navigate. So I know that there's a number of resources that are available to support that spiritual development for students in our care. And I know in the past, we've provided samples for events such as Halloween or even during Christmas samples of all the great works that are happening, but definitely wanted to recognize that that is also occurring during the season of Lent. As Rick already mentioned, we are really proud of the number of applicants that we received for the Spirit of Inclusion Award. Admittedly, it was my first time participating, and I was just touched with all the work that's happening in our schools to support inclusion, all students of all levels. So I'm looking forward to an in-person component for the recognition of the students who have been selected, as well as all the certificates, I believe, were sent out to the schools of all the nominations so that they can also be recognized at their school level. We had a number of things happening in February. It's a short month, but a mighty month. There was a Black Expo that took place the first week of February. And as you know, we have a number of students who, identify as Black, but also a part of the work that we do to support diverse learners. So this was a great opportunity to showcase and to promote unity and inclusion. This month, being February, happens to be Psychology Awareness Month or Psychology Month. And so, a number of our team members in the department represent this discipline, and just so thankful for the work that they do. Just last week, I believe we had a CPIC presentation on pathways, as well as just a general CPIC meeting, chairs meeting that took place last week as well. CPIC is very busy. And of course, we have members that represent or on a member of CPIC and also a part of our committee and our community. So that information is always so helpful. It helps us to know what's happening in the schools and how to support particularly parents who are navigating and may have questions. We like to showcase and advertise that there is SEAC as well, so that they're aware that this is a group to access and to help support parents. On February 15th, actually, it was a snowy day. We had our anti-sex trafficking, human trafficking parent information night. There were over 900 families that attended, attendees. And I think it was the first of many opportunities to collaborate with Halton District just to ensure that we are doing our part to keep our community members informed about what anti-sex trafficking is and how human trafficking impacts our community, particularly for, like, again, some of our students with diverse needs. They may be particularly vulnerable. So this is information that I think it has its rightful place in SEAC as well, so that you are aware that this information night like this are taking place to help support our students. We had a skills trade career fair weekend. If you're on Twitter, you would have seen lots of tweets about it, and just really proud to be part of a school board that does such a fulsome, has such a fulsome response to the trades. And I believe this week, our FI registration for grade 1 is coming to a close. So, and we know that that's a very popular program. So I wanted to just make sure I highlight that as well. We had a number of ministry updates this month, the tech credits, Ontario preparing students for jobs of the future. So we got additional information about what that tech credit for grades 9 and 10 will look like. And we're hoping once we get a little bit closer to understanding all those options and help parents navigate what that means, to have maybe some information shared at this table as well. We know that there's been a revision to the FTK curriculum, and we partner, actually, Jeff Kroll, Superintendent Jeff Kroll is here tonight, and we do partner a lot, and I think that there'll be some intersection between our department and supporting the full day kindergarten as we normally do, but especially as we go into this new chapter of the Back to Basics curriculum. And there was also an announcement this month about mandatory Black history learning. And I know in our department, we've done a lot of collaboration under the, I think it's hashtag Black History 365, just to support the work the amazing work that is being done to bring life to the curriculum for those who are racialized and to see themselves in that, the content and making sure that it's accessible. So that'll be building on the work that we're currently doing in our board, but really exciting. Some program updates. So we held our second gifted CLC on February the 8th. Topics included diverse needs of the gifted learner, which was presented by Senior Manager Oliver Fose, and mental health literacy, social pilot update on student progress, and next steps on gifted IEPs. The second A4 CLC for STC and life skill sets was also held this month, February 22nd. Topics included a review of the intellectual developmental disability learning profile, DSO eligibility, self-regulation strategies, data collection, speech and language strategies, programming goals, and SEA and eLight system updates. SEA, there was an invitation sent to low incidence teachers to attend Learn Style training. That's going to take place on February 29th on Boardmaker, Read and Write, and Smart Notebook. The trainers will also support teachers for one day in their classrooms when they deliver a lesson using the technology mentioned above. On January 30th, a successful parent information session for Project Search took place. The fourth cohort was held at the Milton District Hospital. It was lovely. It was open, and there was like a fireplace in the background. We had a pianist playing some music in the background. So it was a great environment, very welcoming. And the program information that was shared is also available on the HCDSB website for those who weren't able to attend. And parents can apply online for their child by filling out the Project Search 2024-2025 application form. And the deadline is Wednesday, the 28th. Today's the 26th. We had a keynote speaker for the EA managers, Dr. Jody Carrington, who was fantastic, really talked about the work that we're doing and the work that our EAs are doing, supporting diverse learners. Topic was about feeling seen, and I really do hope that they felt seen that day. It's about their wellness and the ability to recognize the multiple challenges that we face, especially coming out of the pandemic, to not only care for the students in our care, but also care for one another. So it was a great day, over 500 staff present, and it just got a lot of positive feedback about the keynote speaker. From our senior manager, Denise Coley, the model of support for our behavior analysts has been updated to be more flexible in meeting the needs of our students. So that's a great addition. We certainly want to make sure we're responsive. And on February 6th, 2024, there was a full day of training offered to staff on supporting students with FASD. Approximately 50 staff, which included educators, EAs, CYCs, social workers, as well as administrators, attended. From our psychology department, gifted screening is in process, with approximately 100 students qualifying for stage 2 individual screening with WISC. Psychology staff presented to the new certs on growth mindset, and psychoeducational consultant Leanne Yuan initiated and is collaborating to implement the pirate math intervention. I already talked about anti-sex trafficking, but so important it's worth mentioning twice. And also in the mental health CYC department, we do have a collaboration with Healthy Relationships Program for 2S LGBTQIA plus youth training, which took place February 15th and 16th. And there's also a CPCO collaboration, that's a Catholic Principals Council of Ontario, an opportunity to have board teams, administrators, superintendents, mental health leads to be part of a Leading Mentally Healthy Schools initiative. And so we were one of the few boards selected to be a part of it, and really excited about that work. I'm almost done. The coordinator updates. The process created to replace the SIP process has been renamed to Student Support Timetable to more accurately reflect its intended purpose. That came out of our conversation on January 29th. So thank you so much for that feedback. And this timetable will help to provide a more accurate EA allocation to schools in a transparent way. And elementary certs, family of schools were held where elementary certs and sets and itinerary teachers engaged in a full day of learning. Presentations were given by various departments that included speech and language services, behavior analyst processes, the new language curriculum, and documents, multi-language learners, Empower Research Study Report, and Equity and Inclusion. Coordinator and the consultants will be attending the Ready, Set, Go evenings held by Halton Region and curriculum to answer any questions parents may have regarding special education and to invite parents to the special education kindergarten night in April. So that concludes the report.
Great, thank you, Superintendent Jack Caldera. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Superintendent Jack Caldera? Maria, Trustee Saunders, you had your hand up first, and Maria, you're next. Okay, go ahead, Trustee Saunders.
What is Project Search? I'm not familiar with that. And what were we doing at the hospital? Can you just sort of give me a little more detail?
Sorry, Trustee Saunders, did you hear me? I think you're maybe muted.
No, I heard him.
Can you hear? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Sorry, we're having technical.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I could hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just wondered what Project Search is and what were we doing in the hospital?
Yeah, so Project Search is really an initiative for students in grades 12 or toward the end of high school. It's a collaboration between the Milton Hospital. I'll explain the hospital connection. They provide a workplace experience for students with diverse needs. And so there's three opportunities to do. It's not a co-op, but they have three opportunities to get some workplace experience. It may be in different compartments of the hospital, but they're not tending to any, they may be helping out with, I'm trying to think of some of the areas that we observed. So some of them were doing like some hospitalities. Some of them were working on, I'm not doing a good job of explaining all the jobs, but the hospital provides the hub of workplace experiences for students with diverse needs. It's a class of 6 students. There's a teacher out of St. FX, Tracy Tapper, who's the lead teacher, and it's a program where they're learning job skills, they're working on their curriculum, interviewing skills, communication skills, and the hospital provides different workplace options, so different floors, different areas, different regions, prepping materials, making sure workspaces are sanitized, so many different workplace opportunities. And it's a program where students apply. The deadline is the 29th. And from the applicants, there's an interview process to determine the capacity or the capabilities of students to have that workplace experience. And oftentimes it does lead to employment. So it is credit earning, but it also is a great way for students to experience and hone in on their skills so that they can enter the workplace environment. And Halton District has a site as well. I believe theirs is out of the Oakville Hospital. And the hospital is just the partner that provides the workplace opportunities. I hope I made it clear. I can make sure that information is shared in our minutes or with the video recording so that you have access to that as well.
Thank you.
Problem?
Good. Maria, you had your hand up. Go ahead, please.
I did. I have a couple of questions, so hopefully that's okay. In the first paragraph on the program updates, I was just wondering if all those things in that paragraph were specific to gifted, like it talks about mental health literacy, social pilot update, etc. Was that all specific to gifted learners?
I know it was a rolling list of all the items that were covered. Not to say that they don't have some overlap, but there's the gifted screening and the topics that follow aren't necessarily related to gifted, although not. There may be some students that may fall into the other categories as well.
Okay, sorry, I just wasn't clear the way it read.
Yeah, I can make an adjustment.
No problem. And then just in terms of the presentation on the diverse needs of the gifted learner. So I'm curious, again, I'm not sure if how I'm reading that. So is that gifted learners have diverse needs from other students, or is it, how gifted learners themselves have unique and diverse needs amongst themselves as a group? I'm just sort of curious what the approach was on that.
And I think, to be honest, the presentation was really recognizing that our gifted learners may be gifted, but they have a variety of ways that they are demonstrating that giftedness. And so I think it's to respond to the needs of those students who identify with giftedness in a fulsome. I think sometimes there's there may be some preconceived ideas of what gifted is or what it looks like in each of our learners. And so it was an opportunity to showcase the variety and the diversity that is also part of the gifted profile.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. So appreciate that approach for sure. And I'm just wondering who attends those sessions. Who would have seen that presentation?
I believe it's for staff who are working with learners, but I can confirm that. I'm not. I know that there's sessions that take place, and usually it's for staff, but it doesn't say that specifically here. So I definitely want to make sure. Oh, but Jen Thompson might be able to rescue me with that answer. So Jen, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Yes, I can. The presentations that she's talking about in this particular update was for all of the teachers of gifted classrooms. So it was a gifted Catholic learning community that came together that received those presentations.
Okay, thank you for that. And that's great. But I wonder, is there any plans to share that further? Because I think most of our gifted learners are not in self-contained classes, right? So they have a regular classroom teacher who is the one that provides their programming and maybe a cert. So are there plans to, share that further so that all those teachers who are working with those students have access to that information?
We do similar presentations at some of our family of schools meetings. We didn't have it this particular month, but we do offer presentations across a variety of subjects, including gifted learners at our family of schools as well, which does get in front of all of our certs and our itinerant certs as well.
Okay, thank you. And then my next questions, if I don't think there's anyone else with their hand up that I see, so if I can go ahead, Rick. Thank you. In terms of the gifted screening, so what's the criteria for qualifying for stage 2?
So there's a threshold that they would get on the actual CCAT. My understanding might be, I think it's 98%, but I don't want to be held to that because I'm also recalling my experience from a different board, but I'm a Halton Catholic girl now. So I do believe that it's the threshold on the CCAT that then is captured, and that's now 100 students who would then get further screening on the WISC. But Jen, again, may have the actual percentage if I'm incorrect about that.
Again, this isn't my specialty either. I just want to confirm that I believe you are correct, Cassandra.
Okay, one time today.
So I guess one thing that, and we can take this further offline. I know Jessica was going to reach out about meeting on some things, but just, having maybe multiple criteria. I know Dr. Joy Lawson Davis presented last year with our pro grant to HCDSB as well as ABC's meeting, and she really is a proponent, and many gifted advocates are proponents of having multiple criteria, not just And we do know that there are students who don't do well on that CCAT. It's a very sort of efficient test, but it's not always accurate. I can speak from my own personal experience. My son was like totally average on that test. We had to go do private testing, which not all parents would think to do, would be aware they should do, or can afford to do, right? So I think, that may be something that we can explore a little further, is having a little bit more not so black and white type of process would be a great discussion to have. So I'll just kind of leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Actually, we are reviewing, what are some of the resources or subscriptions that we're using, and how can we continue to best meet the students. So even getting that feedback is really helpful as we kind of query which way or which direction we're going to go with regards to the CCAT, because there are other providers and other tests, as you referenced, that can sometimes give us. I do think the CCAT is reliable. It does give a great snapshot, but certainly, as we mentioned, some of our learners are diverse, and they show their learnings in different ways. So definitely some great feedback to take back.
Well, and I just, now that you mentioned that, I just want to add to, like, Dr. Davis also had a bunch of resources, and including like for students who are from typically underrepresented groups, and how to maybe capture those students, right? Because the tests could be biased in some ways, and all of that. We so yeah, so that's great to hear. Thank you.
And I did look up that, and I believe it's the 95th. We will actually do a second screen if they're on the 95th of the CCAT.
Thank you.
Great. If there are no further questions, anybody else? Questions? No? Okay, great. Thank you, Superintendent Jack Caldera. We will wrap up item 9.1 and move on to item 9.2, trustee report with Trustee Powell. Trustee Powell, go ahead.
You think I have a report after Superintendent Caldera's? No, I have nothing. I was, okay, I'll scratch that off. I think you and I need to talk ahead of time, because you got to give me a little bit of breadcrumbs here. So honestly, I had 4 things on my list, and you've covered all of them. So.
Okay, that's great. So we're all covered. Perfect. Thank you, Trustee Bell. Thank you, Superintendent Jack Caldera. We will move on now to item 10, SEAC discussion item and questions. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss that wasn't in the agenda, or any questions? Maria, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
So I have a few. I think I missed the opportunity during the committee updates. And I see that Superintendent Crowell is here. So I've been meaning to follow up because I'm on the de-streaming committee, but I don't think I've heard anything since last May. So I don't know if I'm somehow being forgotten, or the committee hasn't met, or I wonder if he would be able to maybe give an update on that. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm just filling in for John tonight. We haven't met since. We're sort of at year 2 of implementation. We're certainly looking at the data. You might be aware that Superintendent Skripik is overseeing de-streaming now. You might not be aware of that. We haven't necessarily seen a need to sort of reconvene, but I can certainly take that feedback away.
Sorry, which superintendent was it?
Skripik. I think he did a presentation for math recently as well.
Okay. I think I missed that, but okay, thank you.
No problem.
And then I had 2 other things, Rick. So there was a meeting that SEAC members were invited to discuss suspension rates for children with disabilities, and I know you were there, Rick, and a couple others. And I'm just wondering, I think that gone blank now, and I think it was Nick from research, and he had said he was going to share the slide that he was referencing with SEAC members, and I don't know if I've missed that, or if that's been shared, or if there's any update on that. We sort of had that meeting and then haven't heard anything since then, so I don't know if there's any updates on that, or if there will be, if that information's gone to the board, etc.
So I think Maria's referring to the suspension rate. There was a meeting on suspension rates among, I think, exceptionalities, I guess, or people, kids, students with IEPs. I don't have any additional information. There wasn't anything in this meeting yet, Maria, but I don't know if Superintendent Jack Caldera can maybe add any. Sorry to put you on the spot. But.
Yeah, we did have a meeting. We had a couple of presentations, so I was trying to remember which presentation happened at SEAC, but we did have a presentation about the disproportionality of suspension rates. And I don't know that the slide deck that Nick was, are you talking about a presentation that happened at SEAC, Maria, or was it at a different meeting?
Yeah, no, it was, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it came out, it was between SEAC meetings, and it was actually kind of short notice. And SEAC members were invited to it, but it wasn't officially a SEAC meeting. I think Rick and I were there, and there was a couple of others. It wasn't a big turnout, but I think the notice was a bit short, and it was just Nick kind of getting our feedback before it went to the board. And I wanted to say as well, I really appreciated that, because it was unfortunate you weren't there. I'm not sure if you had a conflict or something, but I really appreciated the fact that they were seeking feedback from SEAC members before taking it to the board, because in my experience, and I've been here quite a while, it often is the other way around. And I think that really demonstrates an appreciation for our role to bring it to us first, even if it's just for feedback. So he did that, and we did provide, there was a good discussion. It was short, but I was on the phone because that was the only way I was able to attend. But he did mention, I think it was just one page maybe, but the graph that he was sort of referencing, that he was going to send it out, I think, through the chair to share with all SEAC members. So I never sort of heard anything more about that. So I was just wondering about that, but also if anything further had sort of come from any of that. I thought it might be onto the agenda tonight, but obviously it wasn't.
It wasn't, and I'm really happy to hear that there's an appreciation for that soliciting feedback, because we're really trying to make sure that SEAC's presence is a part of meetings and invitations to give voice. I can circle back with Nick to ensure that the infographic, I think, that you're referring to is shared. And I have no issue maybe for a future meeting to have Nick come and share some similar information or an update to the information to SEAC as well, if that's something that is an interest to the group. So I have that on my to-do list.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a small group, so a lot of people here wouldn't have seen it, and like, especially because it didn't get sent out after, so I'm sure they have no idea what I'm even talking about, but maybe they even missed the email about the meeting. But anyways, I did, yeah, more of that would be great. I really did appreciate that. And so my last thing is just kind of an information piece. It's not really SEAC, but I just want to mention, like, my husband is, he's a member of the Burlington Accessibility Advisory Committee. And every once in a while, he shares things with me that I think SEAC members would be interested in. Right now, there's some people might be familiar with it, and I've gone blank on the name, but there's a new app out there that allows you to rate accessibility of different, like, businesses. So you can go on the app and rate it and give comments about accessibility. And they've got a date coming up that's specifically designed for that, where communities will have events where you can go out and go to a bunch of places, I guess, and rate them on accessibility. So I thought things like that might be of interest to SEAC. So I just want to sort of confirm, like, what's the best way to share that information? Should I send it through Margaret and have her share it out to the committee, or would you prefer that I just share it directly to the committee? And I'll start with that app that I just talked about.
Okay, so yeah, Maria, that'd be great if you could send that information to Margaret, and she'll share it with the rest of the committee. And if you have the name of the app, that'd be great too. I'm sure you'll be able to get it from your husband, but that's great. Thanks.
I see Brianna has her hand up, and I'll have the name of the app by the time she's done talking.
Okay, great.
I have to find it. Actually, I have it. Access Now. Access Now, it's called. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sounds really cool. He was pretty excited about it, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really great tool. Thanks for sharing, Maria.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Brianna, you go ahead. You have your hand up.
Thanks. I just wanted to piggyback on Maria's comment to the superintendent. I'm just wondering, I know you said you'd get the infograph from Nick, but I'm wondering if it would be good to have him come in and do a presentation, considering the article that was just released in the newspaper about the disproportionate suspensions of students who are Black. And in that article does mention students with disabilities. So I just think it, you know, it's out there in the media now. So we might be having parents asking us this. So it might be a good idea to have him come and present that information. I was one of the people on the phone call with him, and I thought he had great information to share, and it was great dialogue, but there was only a few of us there. So I think for the whole community to hear, it might be very interesting. Thank you.
I've written it down, and you can be assured I'll send an invitation for him to share that update with us, and it would be very timely. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Thanks everyone for the questions. Are there any more discussion points amongst the group? Anything anyone wants to mention or discuss? No, going once, going twice. Okay. So item 10 is complete. We'll go on to item 11, meeting summary and next steps. So the suspension, so just going back on that suspension disproportionalities, that meeting actually, just for reference, happened on February 7th. I just checked my calendar. It was a short meeting. I couldn't attend the full meeting, but I do recall the question that Nick said he would be sharing it at a future date to SEAC. So that's great. We can get that information shared with the rest of the committee. And Superintendent Jack Caldera has mentioned that she will arrange for a meeting sometime in the future to discuss those results. Maria is going to share the app rating, accessibility, the Access Now information to Margaret. She'll share it out to the rest of the group. And I think that's it. Next steps, the meeting summary is done. So we'll go on to the next agenda, item 12. The next meeting is going to be Monday, March 18th. Please note the meeting will begin again at 6:30 p.m. for Spirit of Inclusion Awards. So it's Monday, March 18th. Please be here for 6:30 p.m. We will have the award ceremony for the Spirit of Inclusion winners. We usually have some coffee, some beverages, some desserts. So please join us for that at 6:30 if you can. I missed anything? I didn't know. Okay. Okay. So we'll do resolution for absentees. Did we get any regrets, Margaret? Okay. So just Trustee Agnew regrets. Okay. So can I get a mover to do a resolution for absentees? Amanda's moving it. Can I get a seconder?
I can second. It's Trish.
And Trustee Powell. Thank you so much, both of you. So moved by Amanda, seconded by Trustee Powell. So I need a call for a mover to adjourn the meeting.
I can do it.
Trustee Powell is going to move it. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Abiola. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Abiola. Okay, so we'll go into the closing prayer. Join me in our sign of our faith. In the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Blessed are you, O God of all creation. Each day you spread before us the rich and wonderful diversity of the human family created in the divine splendor of your love. Fashioned in your image, you call us to love one another with the same tender care with which you brought us to creation. Each one of us is but one small part of the glory that is you. As we serve the students and families of the Halton Catholic District School Board on the Special Education Advisory Committee, fill us with your grace, guide us with your wisdom, and give us the strength and courage to do your work, so that it may always be said of our every act, God saw that it was good. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, everyone. It was a great meeting tonight. We'll see you in March, and Margaret will send out the information and updates that came out of this meeting. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Rick.
Take care.
Thanks, Rick. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.